Okay, we're recording. Okay, so we are absolutely thrilled to introduce to everyone out there in the world our fabulous, talented instructor, Miss Leslie Murphy. She's been teaching at the Art Center for approximately 12 years, teaching adults and the youth, and we have a wonderful artist talk set up for today with Miss Leslie. And Althea Foster, our Programs Director and Curator, has a few questions for Miss Leslie.
Hi, I hope everyone has had a chance to look at Leslie's exhibit. It is amazing. She is an amazing instructor, and we're just so pleased that we were able to present. If not for a gun, it is a wonderful exhibit, and it's extremely compelling, and I hope everyone will take the time to really go through it thoroughly. So we just wanted to talk to Leslie and ask her some questions about her journey as an artist. How did you get started? Did you always want to be an artist?
Oh yeah, for as long as I can remember, I've been drawing, and I think I started painting when I was about 8. I actually started painting by taking painting classes at a community art center as well. So yeah, art has always been kind of my escape and my saving grace. It keeps me sane, and there was never really a question. When I was a kid, I always knew I wanted to be an artist and make money at it somehow, and one of those rare people who just never changed her mind about what she wanted to do. So just always wanted to work in the arts.
You've been lucky, and you've been doing it for a really long time. You do a lot of teaching. Do you enjoy that? And does it inform your work? Do you get sort of inspiration from your students? And
yeah, definitely. I love teaching. I kind of fell into it by accident. Right out of college, I majored in illustration, but I started teaching with young Rembrandts, just some after-school drawing classes, and then I kept seeing posters for OC Art Center, and eventually I was driving from one of my schools and I found it. So I started hounding the director, I think his name was George, about just giving me a job, and they finally gave me one, and I really enjoyed it, and I started teaching 1st through 3rd graders, and then I started teaching teens and adults, and with working with the teens, I discovered how much fun doing collaborative work was. So we do these big group projects in summer camp, and working kind of as a team for like just an end goal collaborative piece was just always really engaging and exciting, because you didn't really know what it was going to turn out like, because you had so many different hands in the pot. So teaching has inspired me to try to use my work to collaborate with other people who aren't even necessarily artists, but to kind of help them experience the joy of being involved with art and what it can bring. So yeah, teaching has definitely influenced my journey, and I'm inspired by my students all the time. I mean, I've got such wonderful people to work with, and I couldn't be more thankful for my students.
I was going to, well, I've been around and I've seen a lot of your work. I know that your family is very, very important to you, and you've done some amazing portraits of them. So do you think now this question is not one of our scripts, do you think being a parent has really changed your work as an artist, and has it changed what you're interested in pursuing as an artist?
Oh, absolutely. Before I had kids, I was fully intent on doing freelance illustration. That was my end goal as a career. But once I had kids, my daughter became my mini muse, and I have a goal to do a portrait of her for each year of her childhood. I'm a little behind on it, but there's usually something in the works as far as a portrait of my kids, and I am thoroughly inspired by them every day, and I try to have them collaborate with me in ways where they can be involved in their portrait as well, and kind of um, help to engage them in this moment of their childhood. So that portrait will speak not only to their likeness, but to their interests and kind of their fine motor development as well. So collaborating with my kids is always a lot of fun, and they inspire me every day. I wouldn't have it any other way.
What's your favorite piece that you've created in your life?
Probably the portrait of my mother. It's called Mama in Bloom. I lost her about 2 years ago, and creating that piece was not only a way to cope with my grief, but also a way to celebrate her life and just who she was with every brushstroke. And I'm very pleased with the way that it came out. Visually, it's just one of my favorite pieces, and it was incredibly helpful to make, just emotionally speaking, as a way to just process my feelings after she passed away.
Yes, we are lucky enough to have that hanging at the Art Center right now, and I get to pass it every day, and it is one of my favorite works of art. It is really beautiful. Uh, the show that we have right now is If Not for a Gun, which are memorial text portraits of the victims of gun violence. Can you tell us what inspired you to do that and your process in making the portraits?
Yeah, when I was actually in the process of making a memorial word portrait of my dad, when the idea came to me to start doing the gun memorial portraits. I was working on my dad's portrait, and news of the Las Vegas mass shooting broke, and I was heartbroken and immediately struck by how many families who were now thrown into grief and loss just so unexpectedly. And working on my dad's memorial portrait through text again was a very helpful way for me to process that loss. And so I decided to reach out to families who had lost loved ones due to gun violence and see if they would want to collaborate in a portrait memorializing their loved one who had been killed. And so I reached out to a website called gunmemorial.org, and the man that runs the site helped me to get into contact with several families. The response was overwhelming. I did 35 portraits total, I think, and with each family, I sent them a questionnaire asking them to tell me about their loved ones. So like words that they would use to describe them, favorite songs, describe memories that were important to them, and places that they went together, and things like that, so that I could build up a portrait for that individual. And a lot of these families collaborated with other family members and friends of the victim as well to get as much text as possible. So I think the thing that I'm most proud of is not necessarily the visual impact of the work, but more the way that it was able to allow other families to experience art as a tool to process grief, and also as a way to bring them together with their loved ones to remember someone. And so each family member who participated, they received a high resolution image of their portrait so that they could print it and distribute among family and friends as much as they wanted to. And I've always just really liked the idea of random acts of kindness and I wanted to show the humanity behind the gun violence epidemic. I wanted to show that, you know, these were real people who had families, they had hopes, dreams, and, you know, they had, you know, their own unique life, and that those lives should be celebrated. And also that, you know, people do care. So often, you know, you hear about the statistics and it just becomes sad white noise. And I wanted to just bring the humanity back to the discussion about gun violence. So that was kind of the main driver behind starting that series, and just bringing people together in any way that I could for a cause that I care deeply about.
How many have you done in total?
Come again?
How many gun portraits have you done in total?
35.
Okay. Well, they are fascinating, and I understand that you have a project you're going to do that's in some ways similar with the victims of COVID-19. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm hoping to start a collaborative endeavor with families who have lost loved ones to COVID. And the way that this project will work will hopefully get them actually helping to make the physical piece of artwork. So the idea is for me to create templates based on the photograph that they send in, with it broken down into layers of dark, medium, and light values, so that I could essentially give, you know, 3 or 4 people related to that person a template and a piece of acetate or vellum, along with a different colored paint pen, and they would fill in text on top of the template for each of those 3 shades. And then, because the layers would be transparent, you'd stack them all together, and then you'd have a multi-layered word portrait with text describing that person, that was also completed by people who loved them. And so you'd have this juxtaposition of different handwriting and different text, and again, just the idea of collaboration with people who are experiencing loss and helping them to use art as a way to find peace.
That sounds like a poignant, and it's going to be a very strong and impactful project, and I can hardly wait to see it. One final question, and I have to ask all artists this: who are your favorite artists, and how have they influenced your work?
Okay, well, that's a very long list, but top of the list, I would say, as far as color goes, Peter Max is my all-time favorite. I love his use of bold, crazy color. I also love his big, fat, juicy brush strokes, as well as the fine detail and precision of artists like Maxfield Parrish. I do love Norman Rockwell. I love a lot of the old 20th century American illustrators. Also, I used to really want to pursue fantasy and science fiction illustration. So some of my art heroes are in that field. Artists like Michael Whalen, Donato Giancola, oh gosh, Frank Frazetta. The list goes on. I'm always inspired by so many different artists, and not to mention all of my students at Johns Creek Art Center. I've had a few students paint the same image, and I've then also painted it with them, and it's kind of fun to compare and see how they differ from the same reference photo, and how they differ in terms of composition and brushwork and color usage and all that good stuff. So always inspired by the people I get to work with every day, and I'm just so fortunate to get to share my love of painting with enthusiastic and kind-hearted people every day.
Well, Leslie, it has been fascinating talking to you. We are so lucky to have you as an instructor here, and kudos on your exhibit and your projects. They are amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much.